welcome back to this first video of this series. So in this particular video, we are going to learn about time-weighted return. So in the last video, we talked and we learned about money-weighted return and its uses, right? So when we have this money-weighted return, what was the need? What was the exact need for another measure, that is your time-weighted return? So let's begin this video by understanding why even do we need this time-weighted return. So to understand that, we need to go back to money-weighted return, because money-weighted return has got one drawback. It's not exactly a drawback, but I'll call it that way for the sake of understanding. So you realize that money-weighted return is useful, right? It is useful when there is a certain share, right? Share called XYZ, could be anything, and you invest in that share, and if you say buy more shares in during a period of time, and in between you also sell shares. So basically, when you add money to an investment or you withdraw money from that investment, and you do that several times, so because of addition of funds and also withdrawal of funds, because of these two actions, and if you want to measure the return considering these two elements, that is addition and withdrawal, then your money weighted return is useful. Okay, and let me clear out. Addition basically means that if it is XYZ shares, that means you are buying more of the shares. Withdrawal basically means you are basically selling a few shares or some shares and you're getting money in return, right? So that is withdrawal of funds. But what drawback? It's this is useful, right, for a real case scenario, this money weighted return. But at the same time, this money weighted return, even though it is useful in a real life scenario, the same benefit is also a drawback. What do I mean by that exactly is, we are talking about a particular investor, right, who is investing in this XYZ shares. But let me tell you the reality. There could be multiples of investors investing in this XYZ shares. So, for example, if I say there are, say, investor A, investor B, and investor C, right? So it is not necessary that this investor A would be investing in, like selling shares. But it is not necessary that A will be selling and buying shares the same as B, right? Similarly, it is not necessary that B is also buying and selling shares exactly the same as C, right? It is not only about the magnitude of the investment, but the frequency of the investment as well. So each one of them, A, B, and C, they will have different periodicity of investment, and also their magnitude of investment or withdrawal will differ. So what do I mean by that is, for this same share, the A investor and the B investor and the C investor will have different money weighted return. I hope you get the point, right? So A will have a different money weighted return, B will have different money weighted return, C will have different money weighted return. So this is because their actions are different from each other. So this is also a drawback, because we do not know the intrinsic return of this XYZ shares or any investment instrument, right? So to mitigate this, we came out with time weighted return. So if you read the first sentence here, it is an investment measure, okay? Time weighted return is an investment measure which is not sensitive. You can say it is insensitive to the addition and withdrawal of funds. So basically what it means is that it doesn't matter how much you add money, how much you withdraw money, at what periodicity you are doing it, your time weighted return is going to be the same. Okay? So if I ask you, what would be the time weighted return for A or B or C? What would be your answer? It would be same, because their actions will not matter. Okay, addition, because time weighted return is again insensitive to the addition and withdrawal of funds. I hope till this point everything is clear. And one more drawback, let's just see. I mean, if you have understood till now, you will also be able to understand this particular point. Suppose if a client, could be any one of them, A or B or C, okay, is gives money to an investment manager, okay. So this investment manager is taking money from A, okay, and putting it on, say, this XYZ investment shares. So if this investment happens at unfavorable time, okay, unfavorable time, your money weighted return will be less. So vice versa, if you give, as an investor, if you give funds at a favorable time, your MWRR, that is money weighted return, will be high. So what do I mean by that? If you're still confused, let me illustrate and let me tell you. So I'll just erase a bit. In this case, let's take on two investors, A and B. Okay. So these two guys, A and B, okay, we're just taking two investors. Suppose they are investing in this XYZ shares, alright, and the performance of this share in the first year, this is first year, for example, and this is second year. So the performance of this share, it's a true intrinsic performance, like it went down by 10% in the first year, and next year it was performing relatively good, say 25% profit. So in the first year, you can see that the performance of XYZ went down by 10%, and the next it went up by 25%. So this E and B, both of them are standing at this point. So for example, let's take the example of E. So this E guy, he didn't know that the performance is going to go down. Who knows, right? Nobody can predict the future. So whatever money he had, okay, he invested here. So he could have invested, let's assume any money, okay. So he invested it here, and what happens is, like, he saw that he's already invested at this point of time, right? So he lost. So whatever 100% he invested, by the end of the first year, he only had 90% remaining, right? So he had a loss. So what happens is that he got scared and he did not invest anything, right? So ultimately, his money weighted return would be -10. So he lost. For the 2 years, it won't be. For this period, it is -10, but then on that 90 remaining, he gained 25. So could be, say, it was X% profit or loss, whatever. But this B guy, what happens is, like, he's also standing at the same point, and he had the same amount of money, let's assume, okay. But say he or she did not invest a lot in this XYZ at this point. Say, whatever fund he had, he invested 10%, okay, and it went down. But then next year, this B guy is like, let me invest more. It's fine. So he invests a big jump, 90% remaining here, okay. And here, since this B guy has invested less amount than whatever remained, the huge amount of money is investing on that year where there is a maximum profit, the B's money weighted return will be higher than A, okay. So this is the ultimate point I was trying to derive. If you invest at unfavorable time, which A did at unfavorable time, he invested all his money in the first year, MWR will be less, money weighted return will be less. And if you invest just like how B did at a favorable time, your money weighted will be high or elevated. Right. So this money weighted return varies from person to person, and it also depends on your luck. And if you are a very professional, investor who knows what's the market is going to be future ahead, and if you have analyzed this, then it could be a different scenario. But the main thing is, nobody can predict the future, what is going to come, right? So it depends on when and how much amount of money you are investing. If it turns out to be unlucky, then your money weighted return will be low. If it turns out to be lucky, favorable, then your money weighted return will be higher. And these two scenarios, as it is not predictable, different people will have different money weighted rate of return. So seeing this drawback, money weighted rate of return, that it is going to be different for different people, we came out with time weighted return. Alright. So basically what time weighted return does is, as it says here, that it is not sensitive. So it is insensitive. It is insensitive. So time weighted return does not give a damn about addition or withdrawal of funds. So it is not affected by this addition and withdrawal of funds. So it is not affected whether you have invested funds at unfavorable time or you've invested more funds at favorable time. It does not care at all. So basically, concluding with why we are learning this time weighted return is basically time weighted rate of return. Since it is unaffected by the addition and withdrawal, it removes this effect of higher rate of return or lower rate of return depending on whether we have invested in unfavorable or favorable time. So this time weighted return removes these effects. So for both A and B, it does not matter if they have invested in favorable or unfavorable. Their money weighted return might be different from each other, but the time weighted return for both of them for this particular investment instrument XYZ, it will be same. So why, again, if I ask you, we're learning this time weighted return is, we cannot look at a particular individual's portfolio and say that a particular investment is good or bad because of these two reasons, right? So we cannot say that. So when we want to know about the performance of a particular investment instrument, say XYZ instrument, or could be any shares which are there in the market or equity or anything. So we are interested, or all the investors, portfolio managers and all, everybody is more interested in time weighted return rather than money weighted return, because money weighted return is useful for a particular individual when he or she wants to know his or her return because of her actions of addition and withdrawal of funds. So it is very particular for a particular individual. But time weighted return is kind of a uniform, it's a universal return or a measure which gives you the return of a particular share or investment, and it is one affected by addition and withdrawal. So I hope you have got the point or the concept which I'm trying to tell you. So before we do this example, since you have understood the concept, let's see now how do we measure or how do we calculate time weighted rate of return. But before we do the actual calculation, please be focused on this part, because if you understand this part, your 90% of time weighted return is done, and it is very easy whatever I'm going to teach you. Now let's see how we are actually going to do the calculation of time weighted return conceptually, alright, before we go on to the actual calculation. Let's understand. So for that, let me take an example of a share named, say, ABC share. Could be any investment instrument, and we want to know its performance over, say, past certain time periods. Let's assume this is a time period. Could be few months, could be few years, or could be few weeks. It depends upon your own situation or whatever you want to analyze. So this is 0 period, this is still T time period. And if you know investment instrument, say for example in any stock market, the performance or its price will vary. It will go up and down, or could be going down, or could be going up. It depends. So during this past certain time period, it could be varying. So the value would be varying every day. And once you know that, what you want to do is, for the sake of simplicity of understanding time weighted return, let's also assume that there is only one investor. But in real life, there will be many investors, and every day there will be, people will be investing and withdrawing. It will be happening consistently. But for the sake of simplicity of understanding time weighted return as given in your book, let's assume that there is only one investor, and this particular one investor is, during this certain time period, he or she is withdrawing or adding money. So I'll just draw a certain line like this, which could mean either addition or withdrawal of money. Alright. So I'll just depict with the red line. So here, let's say addition or withdrawal happen. Again here, addition or withdrawal happen. Alright. So by drawing these two lines, I can also draw third line, but just for the sake of understanding, let's draw these two lines. So these two lines have divided this entire time period in 3 parts. Okay. If in case I draw another one here, then it will be dividing into 1, 2, and 3 and 4, right? But here let me just draw two lines for the sake of understanding. So this two lines that is depicting an addition or withdrawal of funds or investment in this instrument, it has divided this time period into three parts. This one, this one, this one. So let me just highlight it over here. Let me highlight it with yellow. So from here till here, and another one from here till here. I'm not touching those red lines, okay? Here till here. So what you want to do is these three segments, which is divided by these two red lines, this time period, these three parts, what you want to do is you want to calculate holding period return. Let's name it holding period return 1. Let's name it holding period return 2, HPR3. So you want to calculate holding period return for these segments of time period. Okay. So once you are done with this, your time weighted return is almost all done. Let me just revise. I've already taught this holding period return formula, okay? But for the sake of revision, let me just remind you how do we calculate holding period return for, say, from this period to this period. It could be X value. This could be any share. So the value was X initially, it became Y, okay? So how holding period return would be Y, that is the in value minus initial value divided by initial value. And if there is any dividend, you add that dividend. So this is the formula for simple holding period. Okay. So you want to do calculation for this holding period return, this holding period return, and this holding period return. Now once you get that, let me just erase something. There will be two scenarios. Please remember, it's almost done. Your time weighted return is almost done. Please have a patience. Once you have calculated these, okay, there will be two scenarios. One is if this entire time period is, say, if it is less than 1 year. If this is less than a year, then time weighted return formula will be different. Okay. But if this entire period, okay, there will be scenarios where what will happen is second scenario. This one is one scenario. Another scenario could be you will be required to find the holding period return for 1 year, then second year, then third year, something like this. So if this is depicting 1 year, this segment, this is 2 year, this is 3 year, okay, then the formula will be different. Okay. But you might be wondering here, there might be certain confusion. But suppose this is for 9 months and this is for then 3 months. Okay. Then how am I going to make it a year and so, right? So please stay focused. If suppose this is for 9 months and if this is for 3 months, this entire will be for 1 year, right? Then using this first formula, you will want to calculate the holding period return for this. Make it 1 year. Okay. Remaining one also, you can make it 1 year. Either you analyze it or you do it. We'll see the example, you'll understand. But the crux is, if this is less than a year, if this entire time period is less than a year, then your time weighted return formula will be the formula for multiple holding period return formula. If you remember the formula for multiple holding period return formula, let's make it this HPR as R1, let's make this as R2, let's make this as R3. So if you remember, the formula was 1 plus R1, 1 plus R2, 1 plus R3 minus 1. This was the formula for multiple holding period return. Alright. This is the formula for multiple holding period return. And this multiple holding period return formula will be the time weighted return formula. If this time period that which we are analyzing or evaluating or whatever we are doing is less than a year. Okay. But assuming this is 1 year, this is 2nd year, this is 3rd year, then your time weighted return, okay, let's make it R1 here, let's make it R2, let's make it R3. This is R1 is for 1st year, R2 is for 2nd year, R3 is for 3rd year. The time weighted return will be basically your geometric mean formula. That is 1 plus R1, 1 plus R2, 1 plus R3. And since there are 3 years, you put this and then you write it 3 here minus 1. Okay. So basically time weighted return, as I've written here, it has two formula, first and second. I hope you'll remember it. If the period is less than 1 year, you use the first formula, that is holding multiple holding period return formula. If it is more than a year, each holding period return depicting 1 year each, then you use geometric mean formula. Okay. If it was 4 years, then here it will be 1 plus R4, then here it will be 4. Okay. Hope that makes the point. And here, for example, HBR2, how are you going to calculate? You are going to see the value. Okay, you are going to take the value. Okay, this is very important. I didn't teach you that. Holding period return, how are you going to exactly calculate this? For say HBR2, you are within this time period, you are going to see the in value right before addition or withdrawal of the fund. Right before, right? Okay, just before. And beginning, what about beginning of this? Here, you are going to take the value right after addition or withdrawal of the fund. Okay. Hope it makes sense. So whatever y is here will be that value which is right before addition or withdrawal of fund. Okay. And if it is this beginning is x, okay, this will be right after addition or withdrawal of fund. Okay, right after. So if you see the diagram, I hope it makes sense. Okay. So now let's see this particular example and let's try to calculate time weighted return. Okay. So I just brought up the calculator so that I will show you the calculations live in here. Okay. So let's just read the question. There is this Aurora manufacturing. So by the way, this example is not exactly the same, but exactly the same in the sense the figures and the names won't be the same. But if you solve this, you'll be able to solve one of the questions even in your CFA book. Okay. So once we solve this, I want you to go back and try solving it. Okay. So Aurora Manufacturing manages a retirement fund for its employee. Okay. Then cash inflow outflow occurs at the beginning of the quarter. So whatever addition and withdrawal, okay, it is happening at the beginning of each quarter. Beginning. And if you can see that quarter data is given. So just by looking at this, you can say that this is less than a year, right? Or equal to a year. So it is not talking about multiple years, but rather than within a year. So here our time weighted return will be multiple holding period return formula. Okay. I hope that much you have understood. So you are asked to evaluate the performance of retirement fund over 4 quarters using time weighted return. So this is a retirement fund. Some investment is being done for its employee by this company. So they are investing in certain instrument. You want to know that how well the company is performing in terms of its retirement management of retirement fund. Okay. So if I take the first example, quarter 1, okay. So this is the Q1. Beginning, the value is something like this. And in the beginning only, there is inflow and outflow. So outflow, as you can see, it is depicted in brackets. So wherever there is brackets, there is an outflow of fund. If it is not in brackets, it is an inflow of fund. So you see that in the first quarters, there is an inflow of this much. So the inflow of this much. Alright. And then by the end, let's not see this for now. By the end, the value becomes this for the first quarter. Okay, beginning the value was this much, you added inflow was this much, and the value by the end of the quarter, because wherever the instrument this retirement fund was be going, could be any share or could be multiple share, the performance of the portfolio will be varying because the price of the portfolio consisting of many shares will be varying every day, right? So by the end of the first quarter, the value of the entire portfolio has become this. This is what beginning it was this much, ending it was this much. So when I told you how are we going to calculate your holding period return. So for this entire period, here if I'm assuming it is X, the beginning is X and it is Y, Y value is this one, 5060000. X value will be what? Beginning right after the addition of or withdrawal of the fund. I told you, right? So in this case, X will be beginning this much was the amount and you added this much. So X value will be combination of both, right? Because you want to calculate the holding period return for that particular time segment or time period right after, for the beginning, right after the addition or withdrawal of the fund, okay? Before this straight line, wherever this 9,000, if I assume that it is happening here, so not 9,000, 9 lakh is happening here, addition is happening here. So you want to take the beginning value as right after the addition, okay? So that it is untouched by this addition. So you take it, and then in value is this. Alright. So holding period return for this will be Y minus X. Our X is this plus this. So let me just calculate it here. 3 X value will be 3500. 3 more zeros, right? Plus 900000. So our X value is basically this one. Calculation is already there, right? 4400 then 000. So X value is this one. So holding period return HP R1, let me write as R1, will be Y minus X by X. So Y value is this, X value is this, divided by X. So let's just calculate it here. Y is 5060000 minus X value is 4400 triple damn 0 divided by 440000. So this particular value is coming out to be 0.15, which is, you can say, 15%. Alright. Similarly, you calculate the holding period return for second period. So if I say this is the time period, the ending value was this, the value has become this. Okay. Initially, the ending value here is the beginning, right? So the value was this. But then here at the beginning, withdrawal happened, right? Outflow of this. So now you want to calculate the holding period return for this. So here the beginning right after the withdrawal or addition, here in our case it is withdrawal, right after the withdrawal the value would have been, beginning was 5060000 minus withdrawal is this much, right? So this is the value of X right after the withdrawal of fund, right? So this is the X value. So X value is, it is already given here. Well, let's calculate 5060000 minus 400000. So this is the amount, right? its x value is this, y value is this. So we do the same, y minus x by x. So if I do it, 4892,000 minus 466,000, right, divided by 466,000. So our folding period return R2, let me write it with black pen. R1 is this much, R2 is coming out to be, I can write it as 4.98%, right, or 0.0498. And just let us just remember these. And for the rest of the quarter, I'll just calculate it, right? R3 would be this minus this minus this divided by this. Okay, you can do the entire thing, but you get the point. So 5,764,000 minus 5,192,000 equals divided by 5,192,000. So now our R3 is coming out to be 402, or you can say 11.02%. What about R4? Let's calculate it quickly. 4,948,000 minus 5,264,000. This divided by 5,264,000. R4 is coming up to be minus 0.06 minus percent. And now what would be our main goal is to calculate time weighted return. So time weighted return would be since it is less than a year, it will be the form of holding multiple holding periods, right? 1 plus R1, 1 plus R2, 1 plus R3, 1 plus R4 minus 1. So R1 was 15 or 0.5%. So this would be, I can write it as 1 plus 0.15, right? This is almost 1.15, right? So I'll just write it 1.15 here. Similarly, this will be 1.0, this one, right? 498. This one will be 1.1102, right? This one will be 1 minus, this will be 0.94. So basically 1 minus 0.06 will be 0.94, right? Minus 1. So if I multiply all these, let's just calculate 1.15 into 1.04 it into 1.1102 into 0.94. This is coming out to be this, and lastly minus 1. Minus 1 is 0.259, or I can say 25.99% or 26%. So time weighted return for this retirement fund is, you can see, 25.99%. I hope you have understood the concept very well. Yeah, now let's calculate the time weighted rate of return right here. Time weighted rate of return for the above example. The above example is very simple. Alright, certain lines are written, and it might be hard to read, but it's very easy. I'll explain it to you. Alright. So your task is to evaluate investment performance of some fund for the most recent year. Okay. So you see that from January 1 till 31st December. So entire 1 year, or say 12 months period is given. And if you see it here, if you see on January 1st, the fund had a market value of this much. So the very beginning, on the very beginning, the value was $120 million. I'm not going to write dollars on millions here, okay? So from 1st to 30, so it's like January, February, March, and April, 4 months. So basically, if I divide it, I will divide it into, say, 4 months. This is still 4 months. Let me write it. 4 months. January, February, March, April. Okay. Then from here, it will be another 4 months. May, June, July, August. Then say another 4 months. September, October, November, and December. 4 months. Okay, that's just divided like this. So initially the value was 120. Very beginning. So we had the X amount, right? And from 1st till 30th of April. So for the first 4 months, the securities of portfolio generated a capital gain of 12. So basically the value went from 120 till 120 plus 12, right? Capital gain of 12. So it went till 132, right? This is within the 4 months. Then on May 1st, the fund received a dividend totaling, this was all dividends were reinvested in the fund. Okay. Due to strong performance, new investors contributed an additional 25 million on May 1. So if you see on 1st of May, right, on 1st of May, two things are happening, which is this. So basically dividend is also reinvested, right? So it is like for adding money. So this 132 is because of the capital gain, and this is that value right before the addition of these two funds. So we need to calculate for these 4 months, which would be holding period return for, say, R1 would be 132 minus 120 by 120. In your book, there is one example. There they have also added they have also added this dividend, which is wrong. Okay, this is the right way. So 132 minus 120 is 12 divided by 120. It's coming up to be 0.10, which is 10%. Okay, this holding period is done. So on 1st of May, at the very beginning, here two things are happening. So on this 132, which was the beginning value, here you are adding 3 million, right? Then again, there is an investment of, this is the dividend, 3 million is a dividend. Then there is an addition of 25 million, right? So these two funds are being added. Okay. Then let's see whatever this thing. So let's ignore this for a while. On 31st of December, the fund received a dividend of this much. Okay. At the very end, there was a dividend, and the market value of the portfolio on that date, that is on the 31st, at the very last, excluding the dividend, was 172. So the portfolio, whatever it became, 170 million here, and this is excluding the dividend. So if I include the dividend, it will be, I'll have to add this much. It will be 173.2 billion, right, at the very end of the year. So we see that addition is only happening here, addition of the fund. Withdrawal is happening nowhere. It's just that addition is happening here. So I can just say that on May 1st, there is this pink line where it's this addition of the fund is happening. So we want to calculate the holding period return for this period. Yellow, right, this entire, which is 8 months. 8 months. So this holding period return, the X value here the X value will be right after the addition of these two funds. So the value would be, original value was 132. You add 3 million to it. At the end, you add 25 million to it. So it will be 132 plus 3 plus 25. So X value would be 160. So just after the addition of funds here, the beginning value was how much? 160 million, which is what written here. So 160 million was the beginning value. What is the end value? It is excluding the dividend 170 million, including the dividend which we received is 173. So Y value is how much? 173. So we got over holding period return R, which is 173.2. The ending value minus beginning value is 160 by 160. So in holding period return, it need not matter kind of if you are doing it for this entire, here you're doing it for 4 and here you're doing it for 8 months. It need not matter. If you go back to our concept before which I have taught, it need not matter that this holding period return R1 is for 4 months and this is for 8 months. It need not matter because it will matter only in the case of money weighted return. It need not matter because I told you there could be a certain time period as I have explained to you before, wherever there is an addition or withdrawal. So because of that, you divide the time period into the relevant time segment, and for those 10 segments you calculate holding period return is what I taught you. So going by that, we got for 4 months and here we got for 8 months. So if we calculate this, let's calculate it here. 173.2 minus 160, right? Divided by 160. It's coming up to be 0.825, or I can say 8.25%. So these are the holding period return. And since this is also less than a year, we need not calculate the material mean. So the time weighted return would be formula of multiple weighted return. So 1 plus R2 minus 1. R1 is this. So if I add 1 to it, it will be 1. This R2 is this. If I add 1 to it, it will be 1.0825 minus 1. So if I calculate it here, it will be 1.1 into 1.0825, this minus 1, right? So we will be twice 908 which is the formula for time weighted rate of return for this particular equity fund. Okay, I hope you get the point. No other cash flow occurred during the year. Okay, what about your money weighted rate of return? For this case, how are we going to calculate money weighted rate of return? So in the last video, I have told you the formula for money weighted rate of return. And if you remember there, money weighted rate of return, we wrote something like cash flow 0, cash flow 2, cash flow 3, it goes on, right? So this 0 does not depict, or this 1 does not depict for first year, second year. It's not like that. 0 means the beginning. 1 is like the distance. See? Could be a year, could be 1 month, could be 1 quarter, could be anything, right? 2 is again a distance, 2 distance. You measure it as 1 unit, 2 unit distance, 3 unit distance. But as I told you in the last video that your beginning, ending, I was telling you that if you are not aware, please go revise it, okay? So that it will be easy for you to understand. So this basically what I mean by this is this 0, this or 1 or 2, it's a unit and it depicts a distance. So in our case here, this would be CF0, right? And let's consider this as 1 distance, this is second distance, this is third distance. Okay, in the last video, whenever we were doing this money weighted return, this particular distance was 1 year, but in this case, it is 1 quarter. So when we get that money weighted return, ultimate money weighted return by using those formula which we have learned in the past video, that is basically your IRR formula, right? If you remember, you need to later on annualize it to get the money weighted return for the annual figure. You need to annualize it. That I'll tell you in this particular example. But in our last video, I did not talk about this because our example CF0 to CF1, it was 1 year distance, it was 2 years distance, it was 3 years distance, right? In the last video. So since it was already 1 year distance, 2 year distance, as we were already talking in terms of per year, we need not analyze it. But in this particular example, since it is not within a year, right, and cash flow is happening within a year, so we have to analyze it. I hope you get the point. I don't want to drag it much further than this. So this is the timeline given, right? And we have divided into 4 months each. So 120 is the beginning value, right, for this particular equity fund. So we can say that 120 is a cash outflow by investor, right? So beginning this, okay, I'll just erase this one out, okay? So that it's easy for me to write. So now I'm going to write the formula or this thing for money weighted, not time weighted. So CF0, I can write it as minus 120 because this 120 is investment outflow from the point of view of investor. Okay, CF0. What about CF1? CF1 is like, let's consider this as 1 unit of distance. So here we are not bothered about the dividends and all. As I told you, IRR will take care of itself. So here on May 1st, there is a cash inflow into this particular fund, right? But from the point of view of investor, it is a cash outflow. So we'll write minus 35, right? This is CF1 at this point. What about this distance? CF2. This is distance 1. This is distance 2. So at this distance 2, second, this is first distance here, second distance here. So at distance 2, there was no inflow outflow, so 0. But what's CF3? This is third distance, third unit. Third unit, the amount became this. So we'll assume that this money is being taken by the investors, so it will be inflow for them. So this is the cash flows. So if I use our cash flow, you remember we'll do CF second, then PAO. So it is already in CF, right? So CF0 is how much? Minus 120. I'll just input it minus 120, right? And then down button. Since it is showing 0, now we'll enter the cash flow 1, that is minus 25. Enter. It's appearing minus 25. Now down button. Since 1 is appearing, I'll again press down button. Then CF2 is how much? 0. So I'll just enter 0, enter, down button. Again I'll press down button, right? CF3 is how much? 173.2. I'll press enter, then down button. Now it's appearing 1. I will not press down again. Instead I'll press IRR CPT. Okay. So this is the so this is the money weighted return value for per quarter. What if I want to calculate money weighted return per year? If I ask you that, what would be the money weighted return per year for this fund? So this is per quarter, right? So in a year, how many quarters are there? 1, 2, 3. 3 quarters are there. So not quarters, sorry. My mistake, whatever I have been teaching you, again my mistake. 1 quarter has 3 months. 1 quarter has 3 months. It is my mistake. 1 quarter has 3 months. But here we are taking not quarter but 4 months. A chunk of time period. Here we have divided into 4 months. So we have divided a year into 3 time period. So since it is 3, 1 year is being divided into 3 time period. Alright. So for that, the formula is, if we want to calculate the money weighted return annualized, then it will be, the formula will be 1 plus whatever R is. This is the R, right? This is the number of periods which we have divided in a year, minus 1. Okay, so it will be 1 plus R is, if I write it in this is in percentage. If I write, it will be something like this, right? 0.0647 is, M is 3, because we have divided the year in 3 parts, minus 1. So I can write it as 1.0647 y to the power x 3 equals minus 1. So the value is corresponding. So I can write it as 20.69%. So the money weighted return in the form of annual return is 20.69, whereas in per 4 month it is 6.47. I hope you get the point. So we are done with time weighted return. And time weighted return, to end it, is useful when you want to know the intrinsic performance of that particular share, as against money weighted return, which is useful only in case of individuals or who are different from one another, whose performance or whose choices, whose decisions will be different from one another. And because of these decisions, like, different people will be having different money weighted return, but all of them will be having same kind of time weighted return. So hope you like the video. So continuing with that, in the next chapter, in the next video within this chapter, we are going to learn about annualized return. So hopefully 2 more videos or 1 more video and this chapter will be done and dusted. Thank you so much.